Alright, this one's called Deadly Dreams. When Eddie retired from the Navy in 1986, he moved back to Gilmore County to live in his old family place with his Aunt Emma. Eddie was a robust man, and he thrilled the local kids and kinfolk with his stories of exotic ports and countries. It was in April the folks noticed a change in the usually happy-go-lucky Eddie. He lost interest in everything. Sounds weird.
Why would he do that?
He just sat on the front porch and stared off in the distance. Aunt Emma proclaimed that Eddie had a dream, and it is worrying him silly. He should just forget it and go about his business. As spring became summer, Eddie was more morose. His usually red face started to pale, and he lost weight. He started taking long walks and keeping more to himself. Finally, Aunt Emma talked him to go and see the doctor. Old Dr. Evans had been the local practitioner for 50 years. He knew his people better than they knew themselves. Eddie told the old doc that he was having a recurring dream, a dream that always ended the same way. On Eddie's birthday, October 29th, he would become sick and die. Nonsense, shouted the doctor. There ain't nothing wrong with you. I'll give you a tunic, and in a couple of weeks you'll be good as new. True to the doc's word, in a couple of weeks Eddie became more like his old self. He once again retained folks with hilarious stories about life in the Navy. However, all was still not quite right. Eddie still had the dream, and on his birthday near, he fell silent again. On October 28th, the night before Eddie's birthday, Doc Evans came to supper at Aunt Emma's request. Eddie didn't eat much, but seemed happy that the old doctor's company. As midnight drew near, and the fulfillment of what Eddie felt was sure to come, Eddie became almost resigned to his fate. When the sun rose in the morning of October 29th, both Eddie and the Doc were fast asleep in the parlor room chairs. I'll just be hanging around a bit today, said Doc. That's of course if you don't mind. Eddie didn't mind at all. The two sat all day long in the front porch. They talked baseball, the chances of the local high school football team, politics, and the way the world was going downhill fast in a handbasket. After supper had retired from the room, After supper, they retired to the front room. They waited for the hands of the clock to move to 1 minute past 12 and the beginning of the new day, October 30th. Finally, after what seemed days to Eddie, the hand of the clock moved, the snail-like crawling to 1 minute past midnight. Eddie laughed as he shook Doc's hand. He shouted with glee, "I guess that old dream was wrong. I didn't die on my birthday after all." Eddie's demeanor improved with every day. He regaled to all who would listen to his stories, and he once again loved life. Aunt Emma was so happy that her meals soon had Eddie gaining weight that he had lost. On November 26th of that same year, while crossing the main street, Eddie was struck by a car driven of an out-of-control state driver. The driver thought he was still on the highway on Old State Road 5 and was going way too fast for the small-town street. Eddie was rushed to a big city hospital, but at 1 minute after 12 on November 29th, Eddie died. At Eddie's funeral, the old doc said, "Well, at least Eddie didn't die on his birthday, so I guess the old dream of his was wrong." Aunt Emma, wiping the tears from her face, sobbed, "That dream of Eddie's was dead right. You see, November 29th was really Eddie's birthday. He lied about the date of his birth when he joined the Navy. He wasn't born on October 29th, but November 29th.